Good morning, everyone. Hello. Just as a disclosure, this is the first time I've used Zoom to actually stream to Facebook. So I hope you can hear us okay. If you are there and you are listening and you can hear us and you can see us, then let us know. And also, if you can't hear us, let us know too, so we can do some troubleshooting. But we'll just jump right in. So today we are speaking with Raph from Bakslap, the founder of Bakslap, and we are also going to have a little bit of a chat about Derm Health Co as well. So I guess we'll dive straight in. Raph, what do you think?
Why not?
Okay, cool. So why don't you tell us about Bakslap, just a bit of a background story, what it is, and we'll go deeper in a little bit.
Certainly. Thanks, Marnie. So Bakslap started officially in March 2017, but I would say early stages of it were created back in 2012. So it was the loss of my sister to melanoma that really changed my life and started to provide me with purpose to combine this skill and passion for business, but combine that with something of purpose. And I was always looking to have my own business with all these ideas in my head, but didn't know really where to direct it. And after my sister passed, there was something that went off inside that made me want to learn more about melanoma, skin cancers in general. And I really felt that as someone young and with the passion behind me and so many other people wanting to do good in this particular space, that once I put all those together, it would have been in March 2017 that I sat down and said, okay, then I'm now going to start a business and I want to dedicate myself full time to raising awareness, raising money, but also to build a business and a brand that would be able to spread that message, not only in Australia, but anywhere in the world.
So are you able to give us a little bit more, if you feel okay, to a little bit more about your sister's story? So perhaps her diagnosis. Many people, I mean, those that may follow along with Derm Health Co have heard us on podcasts and Facebook Lives describe that melanoma can in fact be like the head of a pin. They don't have to be big, grotesque and ugly. How did your sister find her initial melanoma?
Certainly. So Tess found, it was actually Tess's husband at the time, who is a doctor, noticed a mole in the middle of her back that had changed shape and also color, and said, hey, you should get that checked out. They did. And from that point of that first time she got checked out until she passed, it was only 11 months. So it was very quick. And during that time, she was pregnant. And yeah, it was a difficult time, but thankfully her husband did spot it. And it's certainly a common story that I've heard through lots of people that I've met, in that their partner or themselves have noticed something on their skin changing, and thankfully they've gone to get it checked out.
Yeah, I'm so sorry to hear about that. It is a tragic story that unfortunately is only too common in Australia, with Australia having the highest rates of skin cancer in the world. We have more deaths in Australia from melanoma than the actual road death toll. So it's pretty confronting. And I think many people have had a story, whether it be a loved one, friend, or personal history of skin cancer as well. So unfortunately, it's all too familiar for an Australian.
And a lot of those stats you just mentioned, I was totally oblivious to. Same with my friends. We grew up, there's 7 brothers and sisters in our family. We grew up, we holidayed, we wore a hat, we wore sunscreen. But never did I ever hear any friends or anyone within my own circle talking about melanoma or skin cancer, or it was really only after our family experienced it that it really became on my radar. So when I meet a lot of people my age, younger, and they might still seem oblivious to it, you can't blame them, because it's not something which they've encountered in their life. But thankfully, through what I'm doing now and with other people, you're trying to find fun, engaging ways that you can share some of that awareness around skin cancer in general. So then they do understand it.
So you mentioned fun. I think the first time I came across Bakslap was when, maybe it was a little bit before this, but when you really came on my radar was when you were doing World's Biggest Bakslap. And I thought, what is this? What is this? This sounds very Aussie. So tell us about the World's Biggest Bakslap, and where did that idea even come from? I just love it.
Well, you mentioned fun, and everything about Bakslap has always been to include colour, fun, and make sure that it is engaging so people of all ages can resonate with it, and they want to dig a little bit deeper and find out what is it. And a big part of what we've been trying to do the last few years is always have events that we can help raise awareness, but do it in a fun and, again, an engaging way. And the idea came about in 2018. There was a similar challenge that I was looking at the Guinness World Records, and I just put two and two together and thought it'd be a great idea to call it Australia's Biggest Bakslap. And for the first year, which was last year, the inaugural event, we would try to set a record of the most people simultaneously applying sunscreen. And I thought, what better way to kick it off the beginning of summer, early on in December, than to bring people together in the community, do a fun activity, but again, that message behind it will just resonate out. So it was a lot of fun last year. I did have my eyes set and was starting to talk with Bondi Beach and the Waverley City Council to hold it down there this year, because it was my intention to have the event continually grow and be held in different locations. But everything that's happened at the moment, it seems as if that's come to a standstill. And if that is the case, we'd certainly be looking to do some form of that event again here on the Sunshine Coast, just because it worked so well. It was able to get on national TV, and thankfully they shared the message around being sun safe. And it was a lot of fun. It really was a lot of fun.
It is. And for anyone that may be watching that isn't from Australia, a Bakslap is really an Aussie way to kind of help, cheer on a mate, I guess. Good work. And we're not known to be the most affectionate bunch. So a Bakslap is often a pretty high standard of praise and accomplishment as well. So I just love that you tied that in with your actual product called Bakslap. So how many?
I was going to say, some of that's planned and some of it just sort of happens, which has been the beauty of this whole 3 years experience. But even, the name itself, it's pretty cool that it does involve so many of those aspects you just mentioned.
Yeah, it definitely does. Bakslap down under. So how many people did you have at this World's Biggest Bakslap?
There was about 2,100 that registered for that event, and there was probably 1,100 that took part in the actual sunscreen challenge itself.
Amazing.
Which was cool. And people in other locations did it through social media. So there were friends that gathered, family, different people in the community that were following what we were doing and wanted to still be a part of it. And it's the beauty of social media, is that they could still be involved in it on that particular day.
Yeah, absolutely. So was there currently a world record for the most amount of people applying sunscreen?
No, that was the beauty of this challenge, is that this was the first year and we were able to set that number, and I'd imagine we'll just keep building on that number, and then eventually take it overseas, and in other countries we go to, it might be America's Biggest Bakslap. Again, it's just a fun way, and no matter where we go in that location, we can just incorporate more and more overall skincare and that messaging, and involve lots of different brands and really reach as many people as possible at the beginning of summer.
Yeah, that's awesome. How fun. I mean, a lot of that we have typically heard about skin cancer, it's scary statistics, it's this many deaths, it's ugly looking moles, it's things that kind of lay beneath the skin that's very uncertain and scary. So it certainly brings that element of fun. And I think when you can incorporate fun with education, you're going to be more likely to cut through to a message that's really important.
And it's really something which, because of everything I've been doing the last few years, you can see that message around just taking care of your skin in general has resonated. And really, when starting out, it was very focused on sunscreen, summer, protection outdoors. But over the last 12 months especially, It's really been comments that people have left online saying that I've got a particular skin condition and I can't reach the middle of my back, or there was a lady the other day and said, I'm 65, I've got really dry skin on my feet and I cannot bend down to apply simple cream. She said she was using kitchen tongs. So it's really cool that we set out on this mission. It's very core to what we're all about, but it's great that other people can still find benefit from the products or the messaging to help them day to day, which really is what it's all about in business.
And ultimately, you haven't just become a product that is really harnessing that power or the importance of educating people about sun protection and applying sunscreen, but also inclusion, because as you mentioned, for someone that might have psoriasis or eczema or something,
yeah,
and they might live on their own, or some skin condition or elderly or some disability, it's pretty tricky to be able to reach all areas on your body to be able to apply a cream or an ointment. And it's really awesome that Bakslap has been able to provide a solution for these people as well.
Well, the solution itself is so simple, and lots of people go, I thought about that, or I've used a wooden spoon and a towel around it. And really, it's pretty cool that something you set out to do, which really the product itself was secondary to the message and awareness, but it's wonderful that something so simple can help someone apply a cream, fix a particular itch, and then they can move on to their day.
It might have been a video that you shared some time ago, probably last summer, and it was this guy in his budgie smugglers down at some beach in Australia somewhere with a thong applying sunscreen to his back. I don't know if it was you that shared that.
We didn't capture it. It was somewhere else in Australia that someone caught it from their car with a guy trying to put it on his back. It was everywhere, and really he just took his thong off to do it. And we just thought, well, there can be a simpler solution, surely.
Yeah, simple. Before you actually came up with the idea of Bakslap itself, how many other iterations were there? I'd love to hear about some of those ideas that you had.
Yeah, certainly. So it started off with, I remember a toilet paper roll, a coat hanger, and a bit of cloth. And I thought we might come up with something that was retractable. But over the course of about 18 months, really coming up with different product designs, taking them out, showing these prototypes to people, it was just gathering their feedback. Would someone want to use something that big? Where do they store it at their home? Where do they store it in their bag? So it was a solid 18 months. Sometimes you're using whatever you can find around the house. It might be a bit of foam board that you cut out, some cardboard, just something to help generate those ideas and move them along. There was even a couple of times you did it with a hard Play-Doh just to see what it would be like, because it's expensive 3D printing, and certainly going to the point of getting samples created. You want to make sure that you're spending that money wisely. So lots of different iterations, and I keep them all in a particular box. It's just, I've almost haven't thrown anything away in the last 3 years because everything is sentimental. It all has played a part, and it's cool to be getting something from the desk at work. You open it and you see all prototypes and bits of paper in there, and it's cool because thanks to social media, you can take a picture and share it and say, 2 years ago, look at what we were doing. It's a really nice reminder.
It is a nice reminder.
Yeah, to come to this point, you've now got it packaged here, and again, by reading the back, that message around just protecting yourself when you're outdoors comes through. And again, it's just trying to use fun, colorful illustrations. And then the product itself, which the idea was always to have something that was small and portable. And once they open it up, then they put their lotion on, and then you can extend it at the same time if you're wanting to reach your back, your foot, as we mentioned before, and just take care of a simple problem, because the alternative is that you can't apply it, you might leave it, and we certainly don't want that.
And also, not just for hard to reach areas, but also some people don't like having lotion on their hands as well.
Yeah, which really surprised me in the beginning, because I have a brother and he really does not like any sort of lotion on his hands. And I really didn't think it was a problem. But as you realize, if it's not a problem for me, it might be for someone else. So it takes care of those two problems. And really that was the idea. Keep it really simple. And at times those designs had all sorts of bits that folded and disconnected, and the simpler it became, we found the more functional it was.
Yeah, awesome. So tell us about kind of how you've been navigating this current period. Like, you haven't been able to do the world's biggest backslap, but you've still been quite present on social media. Do you have any ideas what might be happening in summer of 2021, or is it still quite uncertain?
It's still quite uncertain. I would say the last few months have really been concentrating on a lot of those projects which you didn't really get time because of the momentum of day-to-day life, whether it was updating all the different platforms that you might be on, and really giving some attention to fine-tuning any content that you have out there, whether it's website or blogs or Amazon, wherever you might be, and also using that time to work with some people and create some new content. So it's never ending. As you know, in business, there's always something to work on. And it was more just going back and refining a lot of what was online, and preparing for what may come up in the next few months, because it's quite uncertain whether events will happen, when they do, how many will be restricted. So not going too crazy trying to plan too much, because it is quite uncertain at the moment, but just look for any opportunities such as we're doing now to still be able to connect with people, even if we can't face to face. With video chat's always been there. So take it as it comes. Take it as it comes.
Yeah. Something I was thinking before but didn't mention is like, although you can use backslap on any area of your body, I guess the initial idea was to do hard to reach areas, such as applying sunscreen on your back. And statistically, men are more likely to get melanomas on their back, where statistically women are more likely to get melanoma on their legs. But although we know that you might get sunburnt on your nose, for example, and develop melanoma on the bottom of your foot, it's not necessarily that the local area where you get sunburnt that you'll develop a melanoma, because your skin's an organ. So any damage or sunburn to that organ will set an alarm into the entire system. It's also just, I guess, an important stat for any men out there, or any women who have men in their lives, to ensure that they're checking their back regularly, because as well as not being able to apply sunscreen, it's not a place that you can look out for yourself either.
Good point. And that was really what happened. Is I remember early in, it might have been 2012, 2013, I've always been active and outdoors. You would go for a surf when I was down in Sydney, and you would see lots of people. They would apply, men and women, put some sunscreen on before they go for a swim. They can't reach the middle. They do that little dance where they try to get as much as they can, and then you can see this giant patch, and then they just go in for a swim. And the end result is you only have to look around and you see others who've done that previously. So it's really just protect where you can, and not everyone wants to ask someone else to do it.
Yeah. Oh, I've lost your audio.
How does that?
It's good now.
Okay.
Minor technology glitch. So also, Raph, I'd love to hear about your ambassadors. You've got some pretty epic folks in your ambassador type program, kind of fighting for the cause of being sun smart in Australia. Tell us about these people.
Certainly. So the ambassador idea was always there, but it was just a matter of finding the right people. And many people would say early on, hey, have you spoken to Mick Fanning? And I'm like, yeah, it's probably not that easy that you give him a call and say, no, it's not Nike, it's not Rip Curl, it's Bakslap, how you doing? Those sort of big marquee brand ambassadors, I find that they may come in, you'll find them in the future, but I never forced finding the ambassadors. And the 4 that we have are all individuals doing great things in their own sport, but they've got a purpose and they're wanting to use their social media, their brands that they're involved with, to be able to just share that message because it is important to them. One of them, Harry Jones, is just turned 21 a couple of days ago, Porsche GT3 race car driver. And look, he's young, he's switched on, and he's passionate about being able to share this message. So that was great for us to be able to align with Harry. Then we have 2 triathletes, both mid-20s, Lucy and also Mitch. And triathlons is a sport where they're training all year round, they're outdoors. And almost immediately, once we said and made it live that these people were associated with Bakslap, you could see that they were already chiming in and having conversations with their peers about doing races, and I need a way to protect my neck. And the guy's like, hey, check out this hat that Bakslap does. And he's like, oh, what's Bakslap? And he replied, and in his own words, which is the best way, what he knew Bakslap to be, he mentioned it. And then you had 3 or 4 other people chime in and say, hey, I went and got a skin check the other day and this is what I found. So it just really helped bring that conversation out. And really that's the power of the ambassadors, is that there are other voices who are able to share that message, and it's constant. We need to be sharing that awareness message, and it can be done in a fun way, and who better than for people to share it with their own audience. And then our last ambassador is Jay Allen. Jay Allen works for the Melanoma Institute, and he himself has been 10-year survivor, stage 3 melanoma. And when my sister passed, I first met him, and we've just had this great bond ever since. We've supported one another's initiatives, and he really, 7 days a week, he's just out there doing what he can to support patients. And again, it was just great to have him be part of it, because he's certainly been there from day one. So great ambassadors, and yeah, I'm sure that list will grow. Again, we're not forcing it. People reach out when they want to, or we might run into someone. But it's been a pretty cool evolution of the brand.
Yeah, cool. And if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, but Jay was also awarded with a Skin Health Institute award last year.
He was, yes.
Yeah.
He's got a long list of awards because of what he's done in the last 10 years, walking from, where was it? Adelaide to Sydney, from Sydney to Melbourne, Brisbane to Sydney. He's just out there to campaign, and yeah, he's certainly got some recognition along the way, which is good to see for him.
Yeah, that's great. So tell us, you showed us a little bit how actually Bakslap works, but can you give us a bit more of a demo, like you apply, because I haven't actually used one myself yet. So where does the sunscreen kind of come in?
Certainly. So I was a bit rushed before, but we want to make it something that you could hold in your hand with little grips here. This can close up, and then when it's time to use it, you can flip this back. There's a clip, so it locks in place. And it was important not to have any parts that could be removed, because you don't want to be leaving one in the drawer, dropping it in the sand. Someone takes it. So we make sure it all stayed together, and you can just apply your lotion directly to this sponge.
Yeah.
It's attached via Velcro. This is our first version that we looked at. This way, once they've had use and their time has come to an end, they can just be peeled off, and then there's replacement sponges that are included with each purchase. So you've got them in there. This you might only use to your arms, as you said, or on your shoulders, whatever's exposed. But if you need to make it a little bit longer, this we found just slides out. Then there's a mechanism in here that locks it in place, and that way it can get to your back. And again, it answers that question of giving some room between your back, so you don't necessarily, if it was straight, it would just rub up against your hand.
It's really ergonomic. It's a simple thing, but it's like super ergonomic. I can imagine that there was lots of engineering involved even in something simple like a Bakslap. So people can buy Bakslap online, but tell us about where else can people get it, at retailers, or if someone would like to actually wholesale or stock it in their clinic or their practice.
Certainly. So online in the US, we're stocked on Amazon, and that was really just to get some headway into that particular market. It's something which there's a lot of other brands around the skincare space that are based in the US, and it would be great to just slowly build that platform, build the relationships with them. And then in Australia, you can grab it on eBay. There's our Facebook and Instagram, and also our website. You can jump on there. And a big part of it was also to make sure that it was available in retailers. So there's 67 at the moment that stock the product. And that's important because not everyone is online. And if you're going into your local pharmacy, there's skin check centers, which was really important for us, as well as health food stores. There's some sporting stores. It's really about having a good cross section of retailers where people can go in, and whether they're selling other lotions or whether it might be a gift store. There's a couple that are gift stores and hamper stores. And the owners of that store were really happy to have it included because of the messaging. It's fun, it's colorful, and it's different. And people not only buy it for themselves, but they could give it as a gift. And it's really, yeah, just about building as many different places that are available to sell it, because through every sale, someone's reading the packaging and that messaging is just shared. And it might trigger someone that might not even be thinking about getting their skin checked, for example, or protecting themselves outdoors. But hopefully through purchasing it, it just triggers that.
And it is that bigger message of, you know, if they're at if they see that there's a local Bakslap beach kind of program going on, it's about getting together, it's about community, it's about mateship. So, you know, I think with any business, people really buy into the why. You know, although you've got a great product, it's often the why that people want to advocate and ambassador and be a part of, you know, something that you've created. So awesome. Well done.
So, Marnie, I just wanted to say, because this video will also be shared with Bakslap viewers, it would be great to give some context around Dermal Health Co., how you started, and what you're working on at the moment.
Cool. Yeah, let's do a little switcheroo.
Good.
Like this. So I'll start at the beginning, I guess. Dermal Health Co. is a platform that is dedicated to skin conditions, whether it be acute or chronic skin conditions, or someone that has had a trauma, injury, or disease on their skin. And the reason why we started, I was working clinically as a dermal clinician, and I found that people were asking me what they could do for a particular concern on their skin, and I might not have had the modality or expertise to treat that, but I would often refer on. But what I found was there wasn't this kind of platform that was all-encompassing of skin health. When people think of skin health, they often think of aesthetics, and we know that the skin is so much more important, that it is our first line of defense for immunity. It literally holds us together and protects us from the outside world. And we know that if we have some kind of skin condition or scar or visible difference, it can really play an impact in our social standing and how we feel about ourselves and how we feel that we're represented in the world. And there really wasn't a platform that was doing that. So it's been kind of a long time coming, as you said, with Bakslap. You know, that kind of started way back in 2012. And I think that idea of empowering people and collaborating with people really started about 10 years ago for me as well, even in a different kind of setting. But we started building the platform started looking into building the platform about 4.5, 5 years ago, and then finally launched about 3 years ago, a very much smaller version of what we have today. And now we have practitioners from all over Australia, from dermatology to plastic surgery to skin clinics to physiotherapists to OTs to nutritionists to counsellors, because just like it takes a village to raise a child, we also think that sometimes it takes a village to be able to heal and come out of some of these really traumatic experiences, whether you've had a diagnosis of skin cancer or a diagnosis of a skin condition.
Which I think is brilliant, because you're constantly reading articles about skin in health magazines, you're getting little glimpses of it online, but now to have that resource that you can go to, and the fact that you can reach out to everyone that is registered and ask questions. So it's good to have, and of course we're very happy to be a part of it.
Yes, thank you. Bakslap is a proud member of the Derm Health Co community, which is great. But that's exactly right. We kind of believe that there's not one solution to any problem. as they say. I don't know, there's 60 ways to skin a cat. Not that we're about animal cruelty at all. But, you know, I think it's important to be open to different options, because what's right for one person isn't going to be right for another person. And we have all these experts that we can call upon to provide education that's evidence-based as well, which is really important, because there's lots of misinformation out there on different skin conditions, on different treatments, on different modalities that someone might be looking into.
And what about the event side? Is that a big part of the business?
So we always envisioned that we would do events. It wasn't until December of last year that we held our first live event. Prior to that, we were doing events like this, like Facebook Lives and videos and things on our socials. So that was our first event. And this year we had 4 planned, all in Melbourne, because I'm based in Melbourne. Eventually we'd like to go Australia-wide. And each one of these events is themed. So our first event was the changes to the skin following breast cancer. For anyone that may have had breast cancer, it's not just a scar or a loss of breast. It may be itching, it may be redness, it may be radiotherapy burns, or inability to lift your arm. And also when you're having certain types of chemotherapy medications and cancer medications, it can also change your hair, it can change your skin and how either sensitive it is, or if it becomes drier. So there's so many things. Just on breast cancer alone, we held an event for that. And we were due to actually hold another event in April, which Bakslap was going to be a part of, which would have been amazing for skin cancer, which we will be postponing to later in this year. We're just waiting for some final kind of regulations to change for us to be able to do that, and talk about skin cancer, not only from a practitioner's or expert's background, but also to hear from a melanoma survivor as well, and highlight some of these really innovative and interesting products such as Bakslap, and bring that kind of all together as, to highlight the amazing things that people are doing in this space.
So if anyone watching did have any questions regarding skincare, skin health, you suggest just go to your website and they can search and find someone if they did want to reach out to and know more?
Yeah, so there's a few ways that people can get involved. We have a directory with about 800 providers or something across Australia. So you can simply go onto that directory and you can type in either a skin concern or even a clinic's name. Hopefully they're on there. If they're not, then let them know to get on there. And you can find someone in your local area. But we also have a weekly podcast where we interview experts and we interview patients or consumers as well about their story, and of course these live events. So there's lots of ways to kind of get involved and as we say, get skin powered.
I love it. And lots to keep you busy too. Podcasts, Zoom interviews, events.
Yeah, as you know, being a business owner, you wear lots of hats, and it's all part of the fun, really.
It really is, and I think that's the beauty of it, is there's so much variety. And if we think back to previous roles we've had, you might do one or two, but with your own business, you love it, and you might wear 20, 30 different hats a day.
You're so right. It's really interesting though, because, and you might find the same, Raph, that I think back to jobs that I might have had in my early 20s or teens even, and the things that I did back then. And when you leave those jobs, sometimes soul destroying, for example, telemarketing, you think, oh, I'm never going to go back to anything like that. But then you realize at a later stage in your life, you think, I'm using all these skills and all this knowledge that I learned way back when, and actually being able to apply it to my own business, which kind of gives you a nice sentiment to the past as well, that you don't have to look back at those sometimes crappy jobs. You can actually think, well, without them, I wouldn't be where I am today.
True. And especially, I know that's a similar message that I've shared with high schools or even some university students that you may have spoken to, is that it's hard at that particular age to know what it is you're going to do for the rest of your career. And you might move through multiple jobs And at the time you enjoy the job, and that's what's important, and you're learning something new from it, but it might not be till later on that you look back. And as you said, I've also done some telemarketing, and it wasn't the most fulfilling after a while, but picking up and speaking to people is a big part of what we still do today. So it all comes in hand.
Yeah, it absolutely does. Oh, I've lost you again. Hello?
How's that?
Oh, good.
Just dropped out a little.
No, all good, all good. Us and the rest of the world are currently on Zoom. All right, well, thanks, Raph. I think we've covered all bases, but if anyone wants to hear more about Derm Health Co., then of course you're more than welcome to get in touch. And same goes with Bakslap.
I'm just really happy that we could do this because that event was postponed in April, but this is a great way to share with one another's audience a little more about who we are and what we do.
Yeah.
And at least this will give some good context throughout the year when we do more and more together. So
yeah,
thanks very much for your time and sharing it. Look forward to seeing what comes from it.
And thank you too. Thank you very much. It was great to chat with you.
Pleasure.
Okay. Bye.
See you, Marty. Bye.